Hello, everyone. We're going to go over Chapter 10, Meiosis here. This is the second section of Chapter 10. I like to divide mitosis and meiosis because they're different enough where they just fit better in two different chapters. But understand that these are very similar processes where cells are going to divide. I always like showing this meme in the beginning because this is a cell dividing. You can see here the cell is just doing some arithmetic on the board. But this is another chapter where we're going to see cells dividing. Remember in last chapter we did mitosis. Mitosis is the division of body cells, or they're also called somatic cells. This here, meiosis, is going to be the division of germline or gamete cells. These are going to produce your sperm and your egg. So chromosomes, let's talk about chromosomes a little bit before we get into the majority of meiosis. But two different types of cells in your body are going to be diploid and haploid cells. We signify diploid cells as having 2N, that represents 2N. This is when cells have both sets of chromosomes. And these are like your body cells. Haploid cells are represented by the term N, and they are when cells only have one set of the chromosomes. You can see here, diploid cells, you have two sets of chromosomes. In here, the haploid cells only have one chromosome per set. So I like to talk about this as being like a left and a right shoe. So you can see these diploid cells have both a left and a right shoe, but the haploid cells only have a left or a right shoe. So again, these are our sex cells, like our sperm and the egg, and our diploid cells are like our body cells. Here's a great representation of what that looks like. We have our egg and our sperm right here. They have half the number of chromosomes in their cells, which means these are the haploid cells. So again, an egg's haploid and a sperm's haploid. Those are the only two types of haploid cells in your body. Every other body cell that you have is a diploid cell, and they have 46 chromosomes. This is why you get 23 chromosomes from mom and 23 chromosomes from dad. You are 50% like your mom and 50% like your dad. So you get 23 of these chromosomes from dad, 23 from mom. That's why you have 46 chromosomes in your cells. And again, your cells are diploid. Another term that we have to know going forward is something called homologous chromosomes. These are when chromosomes have the same length and have similar features or the exact same features on each chromosome. You can see these two are homologous chromosomes. They have the same length, and you can see the centromere is at the same location. These are homologous chromosomes. You have 46 of these chromosomes in your body, but they are in 23 pairs. So we have 23 pairs of homologous chromosomes. You can see here we have the 46 chromosomes in the 23 pairs. You can see these two are homologous chromosomes, these two are homologous chromosomes, and these two are homologous chromosomes. These two are also, but like this chromosome right here and this chromosome are not homologous. This chromosome right here and like this chromosome are not homologous. This one and like this one are not. They have to be beside each other. They have to be the same length and they have the same features. Like these two are homologous. These two are homologous. This one and this one, however, are not homologous. Here's another way of looking at it. Each one of these is an homologous pair of chromosomes. You get one from dad, one from mom. One from dad, one from mom. So you can see these are homologous, these are homologous, these are homologous, but like this chromosome right here and this chromosome are not homologous. Remember that chromosomes come in pairs, but what about oranges? All right, so let's get into mitosis versus meiosis. With mitosis versus meiosis, I always like to go back to mitosis first. In both mitosis and meiosis, we start out with a diploid cell. You can see we have 46 chromosomes, like I just mentioned, in that diploid cell. At the end of mitosis, you get two diploid cells, each with 46 chromosomes. And this should make sense because we're making body cells here. We want your cells to have the same exact number of chromosomes and the same exact genetic information. In meiosis, however, we do start out with a diploid cell in meiosis, but at the end we have these haploid cells. And they only have 23 chromosomes. And you might think, why do they only have 23? These are like the sperm and the egg. These are eventually going to become the sperm and the egg. These will have half the number of chromosomes. And you want half the number of chromosomes because you get half your genetics from your dad and half your genetics from your mom. That's because you get half your chromosomes from your dad and half your chromosomes from your mom. So you have 46 chromosomes in your cells. They all come from 23 from your dad and 23 from your mom. Okay, so in meiosis, there are two cell divisions, and the number of chromosomes is going to be reduced in half. So it's going to be half. So we go from 46 chromosomes to 23 chromosomes for humans. There are two rounds of mitosis, I like to say, each with some small differences, and we call the first round of mitosis, meiosis 1, and the second round of meiosis, meiosis 2. Okay. So during meiosis one, homologous chromosomes are going to line up in meiosis one. So you can see here we have the homologous chromosomes that are lining up. These two and these two are homologous. What happens is crossing over between the homologous chromosomes is going to create chromosomes that are genetically different. You can see here we have like the father chromosome and the mother chromosome. They're going to flip flop their genes. And you can see these two chromosomes are now totally different. This creates genetically different offspring. This is one of the reasons why you're genetically different from your brother and sister, is because you got a different combination of genes from your parents. The other reason why we're genetically different than compared to our brothers and sisters and whoever is because of independent assortment. This is when chromosomes are going to align randomly before splitting. Think of the chromosomes from mom and dad. So you can see in each of these combinations of cells here, we have different combinations from the mom and the dad. Think about the moms being from the red and the dad is the blue chromosomes. So you can see all of these chromosomes on the left-hand side here are from the dad. This is combination 1. This combination 2, you can see it's different than combination 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. This is because each cell randomly puts the chromosomes in different orders because of just random assortment. It's called independent assortment. This is another way we create genetically different offspring in or during meiosis. Here's another way of looking at it. You can see here we have a couple different ways of putting the cells, the chromosomes in the cells during metaphase 1. You can see here we went blue, red, red, then we went blue, blue, red, red, blue, red, and then red, red, red. Notice how each one of these cells has a different combination of blues and reds. That's because, again, during meiosis, they're going to independently assort, which means each offspring here will be different. At the end of meiosis 1, so you can see here, at the end of meiosis 1, cells are going to be haploid. So cells are haploid at the end of meiosis 1. You can see we have 4 chromosomes here. We only have 2 in each one of these. At the end of meiosis 1, they're haploid, and at the end of meiosis 2, they're still haploid. But I always like to say meiosis 2 and mitosis are identical. So there's nothing different between meiosis 2 and mitosis, basically. There are some small differences, but we don't really go over that in this class. The end result, though, of meiosis is 4 genetically different cells. You can see here, this cell is now going to split twice, and each one of these cells is genetically different. This is what creates genetically different offspring in humans and any sexually reproducing organism. So the whole goal of meiosis is to produce either sperm cells or egg cells. And at the end of meiosis, when we draw this out, the cells just kind of look normal, but eventually they will either become sperm or egg cells. In females, obviously they become the egg cells. In males, they obviously become the sperm cells. This is the cell division that creates gametes that will later become a zygote, which we're going to talk about next. But I do want you to understand that this is why you are 50% like your mom and 50% like your dad's. You can see here, dad's chromosomes are blue and red. Half of your DNA or your chromosomes are from your dad. The other half are from your mom. And if you see here, you have different percents of each of your grandparents then chromosomes. This is why you're about 25% like your grandma and 25% like your grandpa on each side. And as you go further and further back your lineage, you're going to get less and less like each parent or each grandparent. So like you are 12.5% like your great grandparent. You are 6.25 like your great great grandparent. But you are the most genetically identical to your mom and dad in this way because you are 50% of each. Now, between a couple more terms that we have to know are the fertilization and zygote. So fertilization occurs when a sperm obviously fuses with an egg. And you can see here we have the sperm, the egg, that forms a zygote. This is the haploid plus haploid equals the diploid. The zygote then is the term we use for the thing, I should say, that is the combination between the sperm and the egg. And that zygote will eventually develop in the womb, and then whenever they give birth will be a person. So that is those are just 2 more terms that we got to know going forward here. Here's again that image we looked at before where we have the egg and the sperm. I like showing this because, again, you get to understand that there's 23 chromosomes in the egg, 23 in the sperm, and then the baby cell that's produced after that has 46 chromosomes. So that's where the chromosomes come from. It's 23 from dad, 23 from mom. Something that we like to talk about going forward is a karyotype. This is a visual display of the chromosomes arranged by size and shape. So you can see here we have chromosomes 1, 2, 3, all the way down to 22, and then something called your sex chromosomes. We organize these as scientists. The cell doesn't organize them. We organize them ourselves. But this is what a karyotype looks like. Now, there are things called the sex chromosomes right here. These are the last two chromosomes that we look at. You can see every other organelle. I'm sorry, every other chromosome is going to be organized from largest to smallest, but we always put the sex chromosomes here at the end, just because they determine the sex of the individual. So we put them at the end just so we kind of just separate them a little bit. Now, it's important to understand, though, that with these sex chromosomes, there's a lot of different factors that go into determining like sex and the gender of an individual. We don't really dive into that deeply here, but I do want to show you like the X or males are XY and the females are XX, but those are not the only two combinations of sex chromosomes. We're going to talk a little bit later on about something called nondisjunction and how there can be variations of this. Most of the time, though, females do appear with the XX chromosome and males appear with the XY chromosomes. But again, there's a lot more to this than just, black and white, males having XY and females having XX. All right. The next section here, we're going to talk about something called non-disjunction. And this occurs when chromosomes don't independently assort correctly. They don't split during meiosis correctly. So when going through meiosis in your body or in someone's body, when chromosomes don't separate properly, you get an abnormal, or you get not the average number of chromosomes in a cell. And this, again, you can see here, produces sex cells with one less or one more usually. Chromosomes, it could be even more than just one. So you can see here, normal meiosis, you're going to start out with 4 chromosomes and then with 2 in each cell. Sometimes during meiosis, things just don't go correctly. And you get these cells with either one less or one more chromosome in that sperm or egg cell. Now, obviously, you can tell that my tone has changed here because this is something that is very like a serious topic that I don't kid around with. I don't make jokes, and it's just something that we have to understand as people. And it's really, I think this is a point in biology where you really start to understand why people act the way that they do, and they don't choose these lives. So it's really important for us to respect these people and to understand that they may face challenges in life that we don't have to face, and it's better to understand them why they have these challenges. Yeah, I think it's just really kind of like I don't want to say humbling, but humbling portion of this class. What those non-disjunctions can do is they create something called trisomies or monosomies. Trisomies occur when there is one extra, and you can see there's an extra chromosome here. And people with trisomies have major, I would say, challenges. I like the word challenges here to life, and they just have an extra chromosome. That's it. And we're going to go over some of the examples here in a second. But a monosomy is when they have one less. So you can see here the cell should have 6 chromosomes, but it has 7. For a trisomy, here in a monosomy, it should have 6 chromosomes, but has 5, so it has 1 less. Both of these cause physical and mental, just what's the word I'm trying to look for here? Changes. And these people, again, live different lifestyles. I always like to give the warning here. I talk about some, and I show some pictures here of these genetic disorders. This is just to educate. So it's never okay to make fun of somebody. And again, I think this is a great place to show why people are the way that they are, and to show them the respect that they need and deserve. So trisomy 13 is called pateau syndrome, and it's a rare syndrome, and it's again a trisomy of the 13th chromosome. People with, you can see the abnormalities here, and they really rarely live a few months, just because there are such genetic abnormalities here that it's tough for these people that are born this way. And you can see in the 13th set of chromosomes here, there's an extra chromosome. Trisomy 18 is Edwards syndrome. These individuals have a trisomy in their 18th chromosome, and you can see again they have some abnormalities, and again they don't live very long. These are 2 of the 3 trisomies that happen in humans. You can see here the 18th chromosome, or I should say the 18th homologous pair of chromosomes, they have an extra chromosome. Trisomy 21, this is known as Down syndrome. People with Down syndrome, it's a little bit more common, but people with Down syndrome, they can live a pretty typical in the lifespan. Life it is usually shortened, but they can still live a long, productive life. And people with trisomy 21, again, are usually it's called having Down syndrome. And I don't need to go any more in depth, but again, these individuals just live a little bit of a different life than us. And you can see here trisomy 21, where they have the extra chromosome, the 21st pair of chromosomes. Now, something I do like to talk about in this part is the risk of having a child with like Down syndrome does increase with both the mother and the father's age. So it's very low until you reach like the 30s and 40s. But this is just something that we see as somebody ages, they just have a risk of having a child with Down syndrome. The risk increases just because things go wrong as you age, and it's just more likely that you have these occurrences at a later age. But again, this is a great opportunity to talk about why everyone deserves respect, because people that this happens to, they don't choose this; it just randomly happens in the cell. So they deserve our respect no matter what.